Greetings and salutations, everyone, and happy Valentine's Day. Today, my Valentine's Day present to you is 5 truly exciting Dogman sightings throughout America. Before we get into these sightings, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, PayPal, and merch to help this channel continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fan fiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything that you're into, follow that link below and give those stories a listen. You may just like them. Now, I also just started a GoFundMe account, and that's for some tools to use because I'm going to start doing some hands-on ghost hunting, cryptid hunting, and urban exploration videos. Now, if that's anything that you're willing to do, that link is in the description below as well. And I thank everybody for all of your support. And with that, guys, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on to these Valentine's Day Dogman sightings. Shall we? Today's first Dogman encounter comes from Minidoka County. A dogman in the spotlight of a hunter. When asked to describe what it looked like, he said they were hunting rabbits with a spotlight and he saw something hunched over. He said he then yelled to the others to let them know that he had seen something and then started to shine his light on it. At first, he thought it was a large bird because it was down like it was eating something. Then it stood up on its hind legs and spread its arms out wide, and when the other two came to look at it, it dropped down and took off faster than anything they'd ever seen before. He said that it had a dog snout and was covered with fur, but you could see it was very muscular. His son is 6'2", and he felt it stood as tall or taller than him. When it took off, they ran after it and watched it jump and clear a huge pile of rock in one leap, like nothing. That scared them and they all ran back to their car and got out of there. Today's second Dogman encounter comes from Hillsboro, New Hampshire. When I was walking my dog, he kept trying to stop and was whimpering, which is strange because he's normally a very brave dog. After walking for about 10 minutes, I heard huge branches crashing and breaking. That's when I started to become frightened and decided to turn back. While walking back, I could tell that something was following me. I was terrified. Suddenly, after a minute of calmness, this creature leaped in front of me across the trail. The creature had long, dark fur and was enormous. It wasn't a bear, it was like a very muscular, huge wolf. Today's third Dogman encounter comes to us from Arizona. 4 teenagers walked onto the Shalimar golf course under the cover of darkness. The course is a highly populated residential area of the city, so the group tried to keep quiet, walking along the line of palm trees next to a wall. Then their world changed. We were there talking, Perkins said. My girlfriend says something like, "Hey, something just jumped out of a palm tree." A few seconds later, she lets out this blood-curdling scream. Just pure shock terror. He then turns and saw something he'd only seen in the movies. There's a creature lumbering along the wall towards us. It was as tall as me, 6 foot, hunched over. Huge snout like a werewolf. The beast lunged towards the teens and they took off. It was chasing after them, he said. It just then turned and ran. I didn't think to look back. Today's fourth Dogman encounter comes to us from the Otter Lake region in Pennsylvania. I saw a creature while I was camping in Pennsylvania. I don't know if you're familiar with that area at all. I was with a couple of friends of mine, and they saw it as well. It had yellow eyes and almost like a human face, with very long, big, almost kind of wrinkly ears. It had hair or fur on that as well, and on its face, like all the way on its face, and very large hands with skinny arms. It had, I noticed, its legs were at its knees, bent backwards, like almost hyperextending, in that way. The most disturbing thing, and it still haunts me to this day, is when I think of its head movement. It kind of moved almost like a pigeon. Very kind of darty, very quick head movements, and when I saw this, it was maybe 2 feet from me. Our fifth and final Dogman encounter. When I was younger, around 7 or 8, I'm now 16, I had a great fascination with werewolves, and my uncle told me of this time when him and one of his friends, he couldn't recall the friend, were driving around Arlington, Ohio, and a creature had walked in the middle of the road that looked like a big dog, whose back reached the hood of the car, but it was longer and had more mass than any dog they had ever seen. He said it then leapt to the side of the road, and they drove off quickly. Now, I at first called him a liar and said it was BS, but I went down to Florida 2 years ago and stayed with a cousin of mine whose dad is one of my uncle's best friends. And one night I was talking to him and I said, "Did my uncle ever tell you the time he and some of his friends were driving around Arlington?" This is where he interrupted me instantly and said werewolf jumped in front of the car. Now, my uncle hadn't talked to this person for over 5 years, and I hadn't mentioned anything about this to him before asking. Also, the next story was told to me by my dad's girlfriend, who grew up around Arlington on a farm. This happened to her when she was 10, and I think she's like 28 or 30 now, but they were all eating supper one night and forgot to feed the chickens that day, so they had to run out and do it after supper. So her dad told her and her younger brother to go out and feed them, so they got into the shed that the chickens were in and heard scratching and clawing at the side of the shed. They both froze in the spot, not moving a muscle. Well, her dad then walked to the back porch and turned on the light and yelled out to them, "When I tell you to run, I want you to hold on to your brother and run for this door and don't stop until you get to me." So they did. She asked him why he told them to run, and he wouldn't tell her. So one day when she was 16, her father told her that he had seen a shadow of something that reminded him of a bear on the barn by the shed, but he said it was tall and slender. So that is my input, and I think there's a link to that one and my uncle's story, since they were in the same area at around the same time. A Valentine's Day quickie. I hope you guys enjoyed these 5 brief but yet fascinating and terrifying encounters of the Dogman. Now, guys, I'm working on that one story from the West Virginian Dogman Spooked My Horses. I'm hopefully going to have that out tomorrow. And with that, guys, I bid you farewell. Thank you for all of your support, and happy Valentine's Day.